today. I'm Teri Christman, and I'm really happy to say that starting in August, Best Way Disposal will be Manitou's exclusive trash hauler, and all participants will have recycling included. So I just wanted to come today. I mainly wanted to come today to let people know that just one ordinary person can create change, because I was really naive about how small town governments worked, and I just assumed I could take this idea to city council, and then someone that knew what they were doing would kind of swoop in and take over and handle it. And instead, what I got was, Terry, why don't you write the request for proposal? Terry, why don't you write the contract? Terry, why don't you write the ordinance? And I would think to myself, really? They want me to do it? I have no idea what I'm doing, but I would say, okay, yeah, I'll do it. And it was a really huge educational experience for me. And I guess I have to say my motives for starting the program were really selfish, because I'm a huge proponent of recycling, and I hated how few people were recycling in Manitou. I think everyone should recycle. It seems so second nature to me. So I kind of, basically the whole system seemed weird. Why are there so many trucks? Why are 3 different companies doing the exact same job? It seems so wasteful. So I didn't know, how can I change it? And oddly enough, right at that time, I think I was at a Green Cities Coalition meeting actually, and I heard about an ordinance, County Statute 3015-4017 and 7.5, and that essentially lets cities set up a municipal trash program. It does only count for single-family dwellings and multifamily dwellings of 7 or less. Businesses and multifamily dwellings of 8 or more are legally exempt. But I thought I could work with that, and I was a little giddy because I'm like, oh, I can set it up however I want, And so I was starting to think, how can I sell this? Because people aren't recycling now, so obviously that isn't going to be a huge selling point to the average person. So I did some research, and luckily garbage trucks are almost insanely easy to pick on. One garbage truck causes the same wear and tear as 1,500 cars on the street. They get 2.8 miles to the gallon. They emit 41 toxic substances into the environment. They kill 24 pedestrians and cyclists per 100 million miles traveled, more than any other class of vehicle. So I thought, I could get people's attention with this. So in July of 2008, I went to City Council and proposed the idea, and they liked the wear and tear on the roads. They were pretty wowed by that, so they said, why don't you send out a request for interest and see what happens. So right about that time, I'd gone to a presentation. I believe it was the Recycling Coalition. Douglas Short from Lafayette, Colorado, who's the Public Works Director, had just gone through the transition to a single hauler, and it had worked out really well, and he kind of took me under his wing, and I basically used his program as the basis for my request for interest. And so I got back interest from Best Way and Springs Waste, so I brought Mr. Short down, and he did a presentation for City Council, and he really dazzled them. I mean, he's really good. And so they decided to move forward. So in March of 2009, you're required to publish a 6-month notice to the public and to local haulers, letting them know you're going to proceed. So we published that, and then we kind of started setting up, well, how is this going to actually work in Manitou? Because we'd initially just used Lafayette's kind of base, and they had it was a mandatory program, and the city did the billing. And when Manitou's Public Works Director found out that they were supposed to do the billing, he lost it. He's like, our 20-plus-year-old DOS-based system isn't going to be able to do the billing. So then we're like, okay, well, we'll just contract the billing out too. So then when the contractor heard about that, they lost it, and they're like, we want no part of billing a mandatory program. I mean, how are we going to collect non-payment? And in Lafayette, they had tied the trash system to the water bill, so you could shut off people's water if they didn't pay their trash bill. And City Council wanted nothing to do with that, because as this process had gone on, we found out there was several hundred people in Manitou that don't get trash service. They had no interest in shutting off several hundred people's water every month. And I had no interest in punishing those people, because most of them were really good recyclers and had very little garbage. They take it to work or something, and I'm like, why should we punish those people? So we made the program optional. So if you get garbage, if you want garbage, you have to use our garbage, basically. So we figured, that would work out fine. And then we kind of came across something that probably pushed the program through. The economies of scale savings from the program were so much that we could lower the rates to the lowest that were offered by anyone currently, and there's still $48,000 left over. And we could pass those savings on to the customers and get rates really low, or the city could keep that money. And when the city found out they could use that money for things related to the program, like road repair, then all of a sudden they were very interested in the program. But in the meantime, we were down to negotiating with only one company, Best WED Disposal, because Springs Waste did not submit a bid because they didn't, and I'll quote, like our make it up as we go along attitude. Which, that's what we're doing. We, especially with me, I'm making it up, So if you don't like it, I'm sorry. But in the meantime, they decided to kind of send out this very nasty letter to all the residents, telling them that they didn't like the program and they didn't like the negotiation process, and we weren't really going to lower the carbon footprint, and the current recycling program was just fine and dandy, and why would we want to mess with it? So that's when the haters came out. The city council that week got about 70 letters, very angry letters of people, you're destroying the free enterprise system, you're taking away my rights. And I found it very telling that everyone that wrote a letter against it said, me, my, or I. And everyone that liked the idea said, we, us, our community. And I thought that was very telling. But anyway, the city council got a little freaked out. There's only about 1.5% of the population, but they didn't want to ruffle that many feathers. So we set up a public hearing, and we got a lot of feedback from people, and then they set up an extra work session, and we really hammered out a lot of the details. We added a senior discount, and we made rate increases tied to the consumer price index, and we got to a place where they were real comfortable with it. And so on May 4th, it passed 4-3. It's like, Best WED customers just get to the new rates, and then most companies bill 3 months in advance, so as people's prepaid service runs out, they have to switch over to Best WED, and everyone has to be switched by August, basically is how it works. We thought that would make it a really smooth transition, and Best WED wouldn't be inundated, here's 2,000 new accounts today, And then pricing, there's 7 service levels, it ranges from $6.25 to $18.25, and all the rates include recycling. Everyone's going to get one of those great Best WED 65-gallon bins. Springs Waste customers are going to pay about the same. Waste management customers will pay about $7.50 a month less, and Best WED customers will pay about $10 a month less. So it's pretty significant. And only 2 trucks will be on all of our streets, 1 recycling and 1 trash. And all collections will take place on Tuesdays only. And the city's making $4,000 a month to use for road repairs. So, I think it's a really great program. I think everybody wins, and, well, I can't force people to actually use the recycling. I can force people to take possession of a big recycling container, and hopefully just looking at it will guilt them into at least trying recycling. And I think once you try it, it's great. So, I feel really satisfied with the results, and I'm really happy with the program.